myths. So I was just kind of curious, like, what are some dunk myths that you think come to mind? Like myths you had, like, before you have the knowledge that you have now. And yeah,
What did
what are
Andy say?
some myths? We talked about, yeah, just kind of like overhyping, like your jump sessions, like how important, like you need to jump well all like every week, and it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like basically not prioritizing like your training, um, and like kind of saving it for the jump sesh so you could have like a perfect jump sesh. I think like that's been a big one.
Mm. Oh, and that's what you mean by dunk myths. Dunk myths, I
That's
would,
like kind of in the bag, like when you're really dunk training, but you could even have ones where you like for me, I think a big myth was like I knew I needed to get strong, but I think like I over prioritized getting strong over like not jumping enough. Like I didn't know about jump sessions. Like I was just like, oh, I should just get like really really strong and kind of play basketball here and there, and I'll probably be good. Like,
yeah.
but I mean, you could, but then you're gonna plateau, obviously. So I think that was my biggest myth was like, oh, I gotta like train like a power lifter. Um, but like yeah, so I didn't concurrently do both. But yeah, I
That
think that was like a really big myth.
that's huge for sure. I would say, playing basketball. People think that playing basketball and jump training kind of correlate. Kind of, but like
Mm.
not necessarily. Once I started to actually understand that basketball was eating my energy from jump training, sometimes I get distracted and play basketball
Oh yeah.
instead of jump. So once I started taking that seriously, my vertical started to skyrocket, my lifts skyrocketed, but I also do understand that some guys don't want to take hooping out of the equation because they're hoopers first, not jumpers first, right?
Yeah.
So that's something for vertical jump and dunking wise. That's something that's super super important in getting there. Also, what else? Prior
That
like
yeah, that was gonna say that was a really good one. Like, are you a hooper first or are you a dunker first? And I think like coming to terms with that
yeah,
is really important because that then you can structure your training, right?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah,
not a lot
yeah.
of guys like that, which is okay. There's different athletes out there.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If hooping is number one, then yeah, like then you got to get that in.
Yeah, you got to. So you got to just find ways to kind of micromanage or microdose other qualities of training
Yeah,
in
facts.
your
Yeah.
week. So it's really that. Another thing I want to say is overemphasizing plyos and plyometric,
Mm,
traditional plyos at least, like box
mm.
jumps, depth landings, depth jumps, pogos, all that stuff. Those are good, but it's not really gonna. You gotta have like some type of specificity with your training, so that's why maximal jumping is really important to get in there. This is like assuming that you're not doing max jumps. Like if you're only just doing
Right, right. Like if you're only doing those, I agree. Yeah, you're definitely undershooting like training.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's kind of like lifting, right? If you're training for like a powerlifting meet and you've never come close to a 1 rep max, how are you gonna know like how strong you are, and how are you gonna know how's it gonna feel when you actually lift that 1 rep max? I feel like it's the same thing. It's like you working at like 60% the whole time, and all of a sudden you got to go 100% one rep max, and it's like, oh, now you got to go try dunk. You're like, oh, well, you haven't jumped maximally this whole time. Like, it's a
that's a good
skill.
analogy. That's a great analogy.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it's for
That's
the
great.
lifters, for the meatheads out there.
That's a good one. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. Because powerlifting itself is a skill within itself. Like doing 1 rep max is 2 reps, 3 reps. It's like all these things. I think people get to your point. I think the common thread between both of the examples we talked about is just uh like underutilizing jumping and like trying to find a shortcut, right? Like, oh, like let me do plyos instead of like max jumps. Ooh, let me like get super 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 duper strong instead of like also doing max. It's like you can do all those things, but you got to do max jumps.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Once
No,
in a while,
that's
got to do the thing that you want to do, right?
yeah, exactly. Law of specificity.